A very good morning to my dear students. Once again, welcome back to 7th grade English class. Anyway, we have some more chapters yet to be finished from course book and your supplementary reader. So what we are actually planning to do is the unfinished chapters from your supplementary reader will be completed through live classes. That means through Zoom interactions. And anyway, I will let you know about the timings and all those things as soon as possible, and the unfinished chapters from your course book will be taken through the videos as usual. Okay, anyway, today we are actually planning to go with the first section in the third unit, the doctor's word, written by R.K. Narayan. So for that you have to take page number 58. So it is actually, the story is all about the power, the influence of a word, or the influence of a doctor's word on the life of a patient. Okay, so it is actually the influence, it is all about the influence of a doctor's word on the life of a patient. Okay, anyway, let us read the preface portion. Dr. Raman is known for his truthfulness. He never tells his patients who are critically ill soothing lies. Gopal, his very close friend, is at death's door. He asks the doctor if he is going to live. What does the doctor tell him? So it is all about, the story is all about Dr. Raman, a straightforward doctor. And also the story depicts the emotional attachment between Dr. Raman and his close friend Gopal. Okay, anyway, I am not intending to do a sentence-wise sentence, or I am not intending to do a sentence-wise explanation. Instead, I am planning to do a paragraph-wise explanation. Anyway, we can go to discuss the first paragraph. People came to him when the patient was on his last legs. Dr. Raman often burst out, "Why couldn't you have come a day earlier?" The reason was obvious: visiting fee 25 rupees, and more than that, people liked to shirk the fact that the time had come to call in Dr. Raman. For them, there was something ominous in the very association. As a result, when a big man came on the scene, it was always a quick decision on one way or another. There was no scope or time for any kind of wavering or whitewashing. Long years of practice of this kind had bred in the doctor a certain curt truthfulness. For that very reason, his opinion was valued. He was not a mere doctor expressing an opinion, but a judge pronouncing a verdict. The patient's life hung on his words. This never unduly worried Dr. Raman. He never believed that agreeable words ever saved lives. He did not think it was any of his business to provide unnecessary harm when, as a matter of course, nature would tell them the truth in a very few hours. However, when he glimpsed the faintest sign of hope, he rolled up his sleeve and stepped into the arena. It might be hours or days, but he never withdrew till he wrested the prize from Yama's hands. So anyway, in the first paragraph, it is clearly speaking about Dr. Raman was a straightforward doctor, and he would never lie anything to, especially to his patients. That means if a patient was critically ill, he would never say any encouraging words that they would soon come back to normal life. Instead, he would definitely say the truth. He would definitely say the truth in a direct manner. So in that way, the Dr. Raman was actually a straightforward doctor. Okay, a straightforward person. Now let us come back to the second paragraph. Today, standing over a bed, the doctor felt that he himself needed someone to tell him soothing lies. He mopped his brow with his kerchief and sat down in the chair beside the bed. On the bed lay his dearest friend in the world, Gopal. They had known each other for 40 years now, starting with the kindergarten days. They could not, of course, meet as much as they wanted, each being wrapped in his family and profession. Occasionally on a Sunday, Gopal would walk into the consulting room and wait patiently in a corner till the doctor was free. And then they would dine together, see a picture, and talk each other's life and activities. It was a classic friendship standing over decades. untouched by changing time, circumstances, and activities. So, in this paragraph, it was introduced about the emotional attachment between Gopal and Dr. Raman. Even though they were actually immersed in their own activities, in their own world, they find out time to spend together. Even though even though their schedule was very busy, yeah, often they find time in order to spend time with each other. So in that way, it was an example of a classic relationship or a classic friendship. Okay, in his busy round of work, Dr. Raman had not noticed that Gopal had not called in for over 3 months now. He just remembered it when he saw Gopal's son sitting on a bench in the consulting hall one crowded morning. Dr. Raman could not talk to him for over an hour. When he got up and was about to pass on to the operation room, he called up the young man and asked, "What brings you here, sir?" The youth was nervous and shy. "Mother sent me here." "What can I do for you? Father is ill." It was an operation day and he was not free till there in the afternoon. He rushed off straight from the clinic to his friend's house in Lowly Extension. Gopal lay in bed as if in sleep. The doctor stood over him and asked Gopal's wife, "How long has he been in bed?" "A month and a half." "Doctor?" "Who is attending to him?" "A doctor in the next street. He comes down once in 3 days and gives him medicine." "What is his name?" He had never heard of him. "Someone I don't know, but I wish he had the goodness to tell me about." Why couldn't you have sent me word earlier?" So suddenly, yeah, while he was laying on the bed, Dr. Raman was simply thinking about his friend Gopal, and he also thought the last time when they met each other. So it was actually a time when Gopal's son actually approached Dr. Raman saying that his father was ill. So suddenly, Dr. Raman now recalled, suddenly leaving his practice room, he hurriedly went to Gopal's house for taking care of his health. So at that time, then it was clearly mentioned about the conversation that happened in between the Gopal's wife, Gopal's son, with Dr. Raman. Okay, so in that way, Dr. Raman, when he reminded Gopal, Dr. Raman was simply recollecting the last time they met together. They met each other. At that time, it was actually his son approached him saying that his father was not feeling well. Suddenly, he left his practice and he soon hurriedly went into Gopal's home. Okay, we thought you would be busy and did not wish to trouble you unnecessarily. They were apologetic and miserable. There was hardly any time to be lost. He took off his coat and opened his bag. He took out an injection tube and needle sizzled over the stove. The stick man's wife whimpered in a corner and essayed to ask questions. "Please don't ask questions," snapped the doctor. He looked at the children who were watching the sterilizer and said, "Send them all away somewhere except the eldest." Okay, so suddenly, and he actually, Dr. Raman criticized them for not having been called him some days before or some days ago. Okay, then they were apologetic and they said that they wouldn't actually want him to disturb. Okay, so in that way, and when Dr. Raman reached Gopal's home, Raman was very nervous. So from the doctor's manners, the wife and the son detected something emergency or some emergency situation or some critical situation, and they were actually asking, especially the wife was asking Dr. Raman, was there any emergency or casualty? Okay, but he would not utter a word. He shot in the drug, sat back in his chair and gazed at the patient's face for over an hour. The patient still remained motionless. The doctor's face gleamed with perspiration. and his eyelids drooped with fatigue. The sick man's wife stood silently. She asked timidly, "Doctor, shall I make some coffee for you?" "No," he replied, although he felt famished, having missed his midday meal. So in that way, then the wife of Gopal asked him whether he needed something to eat or something to drink. So even though he was hungry, he said that he did not need anything. That means, yeah. So in that way, one could easily find some kind of emergency situation there. He got up and said, "I will be back in a few minutes. Don't disturb him on any account." He picked up his bag and went to his car. In a quarter of an hour, he was back, followed by an assistant and a nurse. The doctor told the lady of the house, "I have to perform an operation." Why? She asked faintly. "I will tell you all that soon. Will you leave your son here to help us and go over to the next house and stay there till I call you?" The lady felt giddy and sank down to the floor, unable to bear the strain. The nurse attended to her and led her out. At about 8 in the evening, the patient... Okay. So, suddenly he, after accompanying with a nurse, he uttered to the wife that they should leave the place as he wanted to perform an operation. Then again they became so much tensed. They thought that something emergency was there. So in that way they were actually asking about the exact condition of the patient, exact condition of Gopal. But the doctor would not say anything. Instead, doctor asked them to leave the place in order to perform an operation. So in that way the nurse actually took them away. At about 8 in the evening, the patient opened his eyes and stirred slightly in bed. The assistant was overjoyed. He exclaimed enthusiastically, "Sir, he will pull through." The doctor looked at him coldly and whispered, "I would give anything to see him through, but the heart. The pulse has improved, sir." Well, replied the doctor, "Don't trust it. It is only a false flash-up. Very common in these cases." He ruminated for a while, nodded. "If the pulse will keep up till 8 in the morning, it will go on for the next 40 years, but I doubt very much if we shall see anything of it at all after 2 tonight." He sent away the assistant and sat beside the patient. At about 11, the patient opened his eyes and smiled at his friend. He showed a slight improvement. He was able to take in a little food. A great feeling of relief and joy went through the household. They swarmed around the doctor and poured out their gratitude. He sat in his seat beside the bed, gazing sternly at the patient's face, hardly showing any signs of hearing what they were saying to him. The sick man's wife asked, "Is he now out of danger?" Without turning his head, the doctor said, "Give glucose and brandy every 40 minutes. A couple of spoons will do." The lady went away to the kitchen. She felt restless. She felt she must know the truth, whatever it was. Why was the great man so evasive? The suspense was unbearable. Perhaps he could not speak so near the patient's bed. She beckoned to him from the kitchen doorway. The doctor rose and went over. She asked, "What about him now? How is he?" The doctor bit his lips and replied, looking at the floor, "Don't get excited. Unless you must know about him, don't ask now." Her eyes opened wide in terror. She clasped her hands together and implored, "Tell me the truth." The doctor replied, "I would rather not talk to you now." He turned round and went back to his chair. A terrible wailing shot through the still house. The patient stirred and looked about in bewilderment. Doctor got up again, went over to the kitchen door, drew it in securely and shut off the wailing. So after when the operation was over, the assistant expressed some gestures of happiness. Then the assistant told the doctor that the operation was almost success because the patient expressed some signs of betterment. Then this doctor said that there was nothing to be happy because such small recovery or such small good symptoms were all part of this critical situation. Okay, it is here it is said that it is only a false flash up, that these symptoms were only misleading. These symptoms were only misleading. by observing these symptoms, one might think that the patient would come back to normalcy soon, but these were only misleading symptoms. And then the doctor spent his time close to the patient, and meanwhile the wife was getting very much tensed. The wife was actually requesting the doctor to reveal his present condition. So in that way, the wife was actually following him, or the wife was actually insisting or actually insisting the doctor to tell the truth. But doctor said that he could not say anything, and he asked the wife to shut his mouth. So the wife was actually filled with sadness and happiness, and she was actually crying. So the doctor asked her to stop, okay, everything. The doctor got up again, went over to the kitchen door, drew it in securely, and shut off the veiling. So he asked her to stop crying, okay. So in that way, there was something serious about the condition of the patient, okay. When the doctor resumed his seat, the patient asked in the faintest whisper possible, "Is that someone crying?" The doctor advised, "Don't exert yourself, you mustn't talk." He felt the pulse. It was already agitated by the exertion. The patient asked, "Am I going?" "Don't hide it from me." The doctor made a deprecating noise and sat back in his chair. He had never faced a situation like this. It was not in his nature to whitewash. People attached great value to his word because of that. He stole a look at the other. The patient mentioned a finger to draw him nearer and whispered, "I must know how long I am going to last. I must sign the will. It is already. Ask my wife for the dispatch box. You must sign as a witness." So anyway, after a couple of hours, the patient himself asked the doctor about his condition, and the patient added that he actually wanted to know about his condition. That means how long he would live. Then the doctor said that it was a difficult situation for him, because we knew that he was a straightforward person and he would not tell any lie especially to patients. But this time he didn't know how to manage the situation, because Gopal himself asked him about his condition, and he raised one genuine reason. What was his reason? Why he asked so? He said that he wanted to sign. He wanted to sign the will. Will. What do you mean by will? Will is actually meaning is given a legal document that says what is to happen to somebody's money and property after they die. So will is something which we sign before our death, about the partition of our property to relatives or to wife or to children, something like that, okay. So Gopal said that he wanted to know how long he would live in order to, if so the meaning is that if he dies soon, he would sign the will right now, because he wouldn't allow his property, or he wouldn't allow any quarrel going in the name of his partition of the property, okay. "Oh," the doctor exclaimed, "you are exerting yourself too much. You must be quieter." He felt idiotic to be repeating it. How fine it would be, he reflected, to drop the whole business and run away somewhere without answering anybody's questions. The patient clutched the doctor's wrist and his weak fingers and said, "Ramu, it's my good fortune that you are here at this moment. I can trust your word. I can leave my property unsettled. That will mean endless misery for my wife and children. You know all about Subbiah and his gang. Let me sign before it is too late. Tell me." Suddenly, Gopal held doctor's wrist, and Gopal asked him. Gopal added that, Gopal knew everything about whose family, about Dr. Raman knew everything about Gopal's family. So Gopal said that he would not like to, yeah, he would not like to leave his property unsettled. And if he did so, that would definitely create many problems, especially to his children and to his wife. So in that way, he added that it was his fortune to have Raman at this last hours in his life. So in that way, he was actually urging Dr. Raman to tell how long he would live. Yes, presently, replied the doctor. He walked off to his car, sat in the back seat and reflected. He looked at his watch, midnight. If the will was to be signed, it must be done within the next 2 hours or never. He could not be responsible for a mess there. He knew too well the family affairs and about those wolves, Subaya and his gang. But what could he do? If he asked him to sign the will, it would virtually mean a death sentence and destroy the thousandth part of a chance that the patient had of survival. And if he said, or if he said to Gopal that you could do the will sign, you could he could sign the will at that particular moment, that means that Gopal would have only a couple of hours to live. So that would definitely affect the patient in a negative manner. So in that way, the Dr. Raman was thinking it twice and again and again. If Gopal, if Dr. Raman admitted that Gopal could sign the will right now, that means Gopal would not live long, and that would definitely create some problem, especially in the mind of the patient Gopal. So Dr. Raman did not know how to manage the situation. He got down from the car and went in. He resumed his seat in the chair. The patient was staring at him appealingly. The doctor said to himself, if my word can save his life, he shall not die. The will be damned. He called, Gopal, listen. This was the first time he was going to do a piece of acting before a patient, stimulate a feeling and conceal his judgment. He stopped over the patient and said with deliberate emphasis, don't worry about the will now. You are going to live. Your heart is absolutely sound. So finally, first in the life, the doctor said a lie. So the doctor thought like this: if his word would definitely save the life of a man, then why should not he hesitate to do that? Why shouldn't he hesitate to do that? So in that way, the doctor decided to tell a lie, and doctor said that don't think about signing the will right now. Doctor added that Gopal would have some more years to live. Okay, a new glow suffused the patient's face as he heard it. He asked in a tone of relief, "Do you say so? If it comes from your lips, it must be true." Yeah, so that is actually the belief in Dr. Raman. So people realized that Dr. Raman would not tell a lie, or Raman would not say anything to please the patient. So that is what he said. Gopal said here that if this came from your lip, that means that was a true. So in that way he replied. So in that way the patient became so much happy. The doctor said, quite right, you are improving every second. Sleep in peace. You must not exert yourself on any account. You must sleep very soundly. I will see you in the morning. The patient looked at him gratefully for a moment and then closed his eyes. The doctor picked up his bag and went out, shutting the door softly behind him. On his way home, he stopped for a moment at his hospital, called out to his assistant and said, that lowly extension case, you may accept the collapse any second now. Go there with an injection and give it in case the struggle is too hard and then hurry up. Next morning he was, and so when the doctor left the place, so after then the doctor said to the patient that he would more years to live. So in that way he left the place, and when he left the place he called the assistant and told the assistant that the assistant had to take extra care about the patient, about Gopal, because yeah, Gopal would definitely face a collapse within hours. That means yeah, Gopal would die within hours. So he asked to the assistant that he should take extra care over the patient. Okay. Next morning, he was back at Lowly Extension at 10. From his car, he made a dash for the sick bed. The patient was awake and looked very well. The assistant reported satisfactory pulse. The doctor put his tube at his heart, listened for a while, and told the sick man's wife, "Don't look so unhappy, lady. Your husband will live to be 90. When they were going back to the hospital, the assistant sitting beside him in the car asked, "Is he going to live, sir?" "I will bet on it. Yeah, he will live to be 90. He has turned the corner. How he has survived his attack will be a puzzle to me all my life," replied the doctor. And when the doctor came back next morning or next day, he was surprised to notice, or he was surprised to observe the changes that happened in Gopal's body. Yeah, Gopal recovered a lot. And then he gave the assurance to Gopal's wife that yeah, her husband would definitely live up to 90. And while he was asserting this to this to Gopal's wife, the doctor was 10% surprised. Yeah. Such drastic changes had occurred in the case in the physical condition of whom? In the physical condition of Gopal. So in that way, the doctor also got too much surprised. So and now he has turned the corner. How he has survived his attack will be a puzzle to me all my life. And the doctor said that recovering. So how Gopal recovered from his attack would remain as a puzzle, untold story. Would remain as a untold story to him, or would remain as a proverb to him, a question that cannot be answered. Okay, puzzle here in that sense. Okay, so in that way, the doctor also got too much surprised over the sudden recovery, physical recovery of Gopal. So it is the story entitled what? Doctor's Word. So the story is all about double inverted comma doctor's word. Yeah, the power of a word of a doctor that really changed or that really cured a patient. Okay, so the story is all about the emotional relationship between two childhood friends known as or named Dr. Raman and Gopal, and it's all also about the belief of people over a particular doctor not called as Dr. Raman. So I think so we actually discussed all those main points in the story. Anyway, I am sure that you at least got an idea about the story. Anyway, you can go you can go and read the story in a detailed manner, and then definitely you will be able to get familiar with the content. Okay, anyway, I think I hope that you understood everything which we discussed today. Anyway, at this point we can wind up. Thank you and have a nice day. Okay.